If you said to me, you need to take a gorilla and transform it into a human, that's Brian Shaw.
Oh, really?
Like
His long arms and
dude, when he takes his shirt off, like it's just like
silverback.
like you've shaved a gorilla.
Yeah,
it's
wow.
ridiculous. He is a huge human being.
And he
Absolute
seems
monster.
like a teddy bear. He seems like the sweetest dude.
Oh, he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
And,
he's a big man.
I still remember. I think it was my first World's Strongest Man. He was sitting next to me at breakfast, and he's got a huge plate of food. Obviously, we had our own separate buffet at the hotel, and
That would have been a big food bill, man.
just the amount of eggs coming out of there. And he's literally like his first meal, his first dish, should I say, was a plate just piled up with French toast. Like it was like this huge French toast flour around this plate, little syrup on it, and then another plate next to it, just eggs on top of eggs on top of eggs. He ate that and then a whole lot of other stuff. But what really blew my mind is he had his protein shake there with a mass gainer. Like a huge mass gainer shake
as well.
that he drank after all of that.
Oh, wow.
And I just looked at that. I'm like, dude, I ate one plate of food and that was a lot.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Yeah. And then
the size of the stomach on him and the load on your digestion must just be incredible.
Man, I just love it because all of them are like eating and they go, oh, yeah, I'm going up for a nap.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going for a swim, but you go have a nap.
Yeah,
and
wow,
I wake up, I've got to eat. Like, man, that toilet in that hotel room, I reckon it's dead.
I remember seeing this doco with Jay Cutler, who was a bodybuilder, right? But it was the same thing when he was trying to get huge. There was this section where they're just following him with his eating, and you could see he hated it. He was like, "This is torture."
Yeah.
He just seemed miserable, constantly eating, and he was really not happy. And it does seem like at that point it could be pretty torturous. Where there's nothing worse than when you're super full, but you're like, you've got a caloric amount that you need to hit, and you're like, I've got to finish this plate.
Yeah, gross. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Do you know Sebastian Orup? The guy from Sydney. He's trained half Thor for a lot of his events.
Oh no, okay.
So, great trainer, nice guy. I was actually with a friend of mine who I was coaching and helped them to get to World's Strongest Man in the Philippines. I think it was 2016 or 17. He's a Kiwi but lives here in Australia. And he actually gets paid to play Fortnite on Facebook.
Oh well.
He's like the world's strongest gamer.
That's hilarious.
That's funny.
Yeah, snapping controllers.
So Sebastian and I were both in Philippines with the boys, and man, everywhere Thor went, they were side by side the whole time. Like he's a good trainer, right? And they're side by side, and he's got a bowl of rice and another thing of meat and like a liter of stock. So he could put his meat on the rice and pour the stock, so he could at least eat it, so it had like some moisture in it.
Just constantly.
Yeah, all the time.
Right.
Brian, that same competition, he had food flown in from the States because he didn't want to eat what was in the hotel.
Yeah,
Mind you, this hotel, the US president stays there when he comes to the Philippines, right? So it's a top-notch, full security, food's immaculate. Like the buffet had its own cheese room, like twice the size of this.
Its own cheese room.
Yeah, it was like all the desserts, all those tiny little beautiful presented desserts, all the little individual drawers.
Yeah.
So, this is like 7-star eating.
Yeah.
And he still had food flown in from the States because he didn't want to risk, diarrhea or anything.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because that's such a big part of being strong is fueling and recovering. Can you walk me through what, for you, and this is, by the sounds of things, a relatively conservative eater, what was a day like for you when you're competing in like World's Strongest Man? What do you eat? How much are you eating at 150 kilos?
Right. Every morning started.
I'll have a 3-egg omelette in the morning, and cup of coffee, maybe some fruit. What are you having?
That's still good though, right?
Yeah. How many eggs are you having?
No, it's hard for me to eat in the morning, so I'd only have 4 eggs in an omelette, but I'd have a whole avocado and cheese in that. So it's essentially dense fat protein.
Yep.
But I'd also have a high calorie shake. So when I say high calorie, we're talking like, you got your full fat milk, massive scoop of peanut butter in there, your protein powder, bananas, MCT oils, a bit of oatmeal, all just easy to drink it.
So that's a good hack. You can drink those calories.
Yeah.
Probably a lot easier than you have to sit and chew them and digest them. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so the food was literally so you had something in your stomach like to digest as such. Whereas if you just drank it all day, you wouldn't be digesting properly. Just like in and out.
Yep.
So that was first thing in the morning. I'd go off at the time I was working desk job. So my second meal was
you working in an office?
Yeah.
Man, I always think about guys like you with your normal life when you're also doing that. Like you have Ronnie Coleman, wasn't he a cop?
Cop, yeah.
The most terrifying cop, dude.
I was doing design work.
Yeah.
So
waddle into the office, sit down on your specially made chair.
But I still got that chair. I did actually have a specially made chair. I got it still.
That's great.
It had to take like 300 kilos or something. It was, I still got it today.
Yeah.
Testament's 20 years old and still working.
Amazing.
Second meal, I either alternated between just a huge bowl of oatmeal and I just put like protein powder in it and just mix it up. So very plain, easy to eat.
So you're pretty healthy so far.
So far, yeah. So far.
Okay.
or if I was really feeling like I wanted more, again, we're talking like, mixing bowls, not bowls. Mixing bowl sizes.
These are like cake bowls.
Yeah. So it'd be like a bowl of oatmeal and then I'd put a can of like mixed fruit or, cherries or something into it. And then usually half a tub of like family, the family tubs of yogurt, half a tub of that into it. So fruit, oatmeal, mix that up. So it's a hefty serve of oatmeal and everything. And that's my sort of morning tea.
Okay. So that's pre-lunch.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's your 10 o'clock sort of
meal too.
Yeah. Lunchtime was always whatever I had the night before. So generally, fish, some sort of meat, a lot of red meat at the time. And back then I was a bit more flush with money. So, I'd get those big meat trays. So I'd cook a barbecue and, you'd have like lamb chops and chicken and everything just piled up. So there's always excess.
You got a bunch ready in the fridge.
Yeah.
Cooked and ready to go.
And always with veg. So sweet potato, very bodybuilding style with sweet potato, broccoli, and rice with the meat. So it was a fairly healthy, but I'd have sauce, so barbecue sauce, whatever I wanted, versus the sugar intake, which I probably don't want as much.
Okay, that's lunch. That's 3.
That's lunch, yeah. After that, the meal that I'd have would be like my pre-training meal. So that one would generally be a couple sandwiches. So rye bread, usually rye bread, peanut butter, jam, strawberry jam or something like that. So,
and you would train in the arvo? Yeah,
after work. So that's usually about the 3:30 mark. I'd have that. So it's a couple sandwiches, peanut butter, jelly.
You're not too heavy before you train.
Yeah,
right?
banana. And like a small shake, just a normal, a couple scoops, just for that protein in there.
So like a normal person meal almost.
Yeah, normal person meal. I hated training with food in my stomach. Especially when you're doing like a heavy squat or deadlift, and then you've got the belt strapped around you.
You want to spew it up every time you do a rep.
Exactly. So, feeling light. I didn't. A lot of people have the pre-workouts and all that. I try to stay away from that. If I felt like I needed something, I'd just do something as simple as a Red Bull, a Monster, something like that. I'd mix a little bit of the beta-alanine in it, just the pure powder, but I'd sort of mix a can with a liter of water. Okay. And I'd be drinking that over like the first half hour of training. So half hour before and half hour of training. So it's in my system, but it was watered down. So it would just sort of get me through the session without being a big hit.
Yeah, so you really didn't lean on those.
Yeah. Just because you have that drop off and you're training, 2-3 hours. So you don't want to have that spike and then just collapse. Right. And I always just had something in my bag, whether it's a protein bar or a a Snickers or a Mars, just something for a bit of extra sugar if I ever did feel like I was crashing. Didn't eat a lot of that during training. It was always there.
Okay.
Training usually started around 5:30. I'd be home by 8:30.
Okay, so it's a long session.
Yeah, and it's not go, like you got big rest between sets.
Right. I have heard this with like the difference between if you're trying to build strength, you need to let your strength reset each exercise, right? You don't want to be busting your cardio because you're just going to not be working your strength. Is that right?
You don't want injury, and you need to be at max. You need to be recovered to the max for every set.
So it's like a lazy break, but then full red line when you're doing your reps.
So
right?
like as a bodybuilder, it's hypertrophy. You're trying to break down that muscle. You go until you fatigue, and you're trying to force out those reps. Yeah, not like that. It's kind of working in that ATP cycle, right? So where it's that quick movement.
Yep. Explosive.
You know,
And how many? What's your rep range?
It's very low. So if I was doing like a trying specifically to train for a new weight, I'd be keeping at like 5 reps.
Okay.
You know, but that's where I'd stay. So I might just do like say 100 kilos for 5 reps.
Yep.
And I'll do a couple sets of that. So maybe 3 to 5 sets of that.
With like 5 or 6 minutes break in between.
Yeah. So that every time I came back, and you know, like if you think about a deadlift, you can quite easily knock out 3 reps in 10 seconds, no problem.
Sure.
You know, so if you push in that 5, it's kind of borderlining, into that not hypertrophy, but you're going over the ATP cycle, but you're still managing to recover.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow, it's a completely different way to train, isn't it? Do you find that do your muscles just must grow in a different way, right? Because you're not trying to make them big like you are with hypertrophy, but they have to be getting bigger because you're getting stronger.
Yeah, I'm not a sports scientist, so I'm sure there's people out there that will correct me. But you think about it, when you're lifting that weight, I'm sure there's a lot of damage going on, right?
Oh, yeah.
Regardless of how many reps you're doing.
Yeah, well, you're sore the next day, right?
Yeah, you're just not building that lactic acid in there. Right?
Okay.
You know, so obviously if you're doing that hypertrophy, you're breaking it down, that lactic's building up, you're going to feel that, that soreness from the buildup of the acid.
Yeah.
And get it flushed out after. But the soreness that I generally feel would just be from fatigue, from breaking yourself. Your body just aches.
Like a deeper pain.
Yeah, it's not that like, oh, don't touch me here, don't touch me there. It's just like, oh my God, I'm dead.
I've been beaten up, Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go through it. Like my big thing during my training, now we're going back, a decade now, but when I last competed.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. But my big thing through my career was power. I mentioned before, I've got to have that power to lift objects to a higher platform. And the fundamental exercise that I went to was the front squat.
Okay.
Now, I just sat down and thought, okay, logically, what do I need to do? How am I going to get better? Went through the process of every event that you do. Now you've got the log, the axle, the stones, you run in with kegs, you deadlift. Everything that you do in strongman is to the front of the body.
Holding shit in front of you, yeah.
So why am I going to spend my time doing a back squat? All right?
Yeah,
it just didn't make sense to me. So I started working really hard on the front squat.
Do you do any sandbag training?
Yeah, sandbags, stones, natural stones, whatever you can get your hand on.
Yeah,
but
front squat.
You got to be careful with stones and bags for bicep tests. There's a lot of technique in it as well. But front squats was my thing. At the time, I had an unofficial world record of 800 pounds, 363 kilos on the front.
Oh my God.
And my training was so intense. Mondays was my big day. So I had weekend, I recovered. I did my strongman events on the weekend as well. But Monday was my big day. And mentally, I had to front squat no less than 320 kilos for a triple before I started deadlifting. So that was my thing. Like if I'm not doing 320, I know I haven't recovered properly. I know I haven't eaten properly. I don't have the energy and the strength. So you can imagine Monday started with, I use the axle, the big fat bar axle, do my cleans with. So I do power cleans, just real light, 80, 100 kilos, just clean.
Yep.
I mean, like, yes.
I know what you mean, bro. I know what you mean.
Okay.
Yeah.